Melinda Ballard was a high-powered New York City public relations executive with a background in fashion and fragrance. She built her career with a sharp intellect and creative flair, holding a bachelor's from Monmouth University and a master's from New York University. She thrived in the fast-paced urban world, but yearned for a quieter, more grounded life. In 1990, she relocated to Dripping Springs, Texas, a serene community just 30 minutes outside of Austin, where rolling hills and open skies promised a stark contrast to the urban hustle of the city. Melinda purchased a sprawling 73-acre estate anchored by a luxurious 12,000 square feet mansion modeled after the iconic Terra plantation from Gone with the Wind. At the time of purchase, the mansion was a diamond in the rough, its grim potential dulled by an outdated interior and structural wear. It required extensive renovation to transform it to the opulent dream house, a sanctuary where her family could flourish. By 1997, after years of meticulous planning and construction, Melinda, her husband Ron Allison, a successful executive in his own right, and their 3-year-old son Ree moved into the newly revitalized mansion. The home had the appearance of a masterpiece of Southern elegance: soaring columns, polished hardwood floors, and 22 rooms adorned with custom furnishings. For the Ballards, it was the culmination of a dream, a safe place to raise Ree, posed to lavish gatherings and build their legacy. The family appeared to have it all, their days filled with laughter and the promise of a bright future. But unbeknownst to them, a minor plumbing issue from the renovations caused a persistent leak in the downstairs bathroom. It had been inadequately addressed, and the accumulated water damage would prove to have dire consequences. Soon, 3-year-old Ree developed severe respiratory problems, including coughing up blood and breathing difficulties. Doctors were baffled, diagnosing him with an unexplained medical condition that threatened his life. The symptoms he displayed were common to many conditions such as asthma, allergies, viral infections, or bacterial pneumonia, making it difficult to pinpoint what was causing his sickness. The house had undergone significant renovations, which included repairing water damage. This could be the reason an air quality check wasn't considered, but there was clearly something wrong about the house, and the next tragic turn of events only highlighted that further. Ron Allison began exhibiting troubling signs of early onset Alzheimer's disease in 1999, becoming increasingly forgetful, disoriented, and struggling to perform at work. His cognitive decline was a devastating blow for a man his age. Concurrently, Melinda Ballard suffered from debilitating flu-L-like symptoms, including chronic fatigue, persistent nosebleeds, and episodes of coughing up blood, which left her physically drained and alarmed. Their dream home, once a symbol of success, began to feel like a nightmarish trap, reminiscent of horror films like The Amityville Horror or A Haunting in Connecticut, where restless spirits torment the living for daring to inhabit their domain. Yet the truth behind the Ballard family's suffering was far more sinister and deadly than a vengeful ghost, and its consequences would prove devastating and long-lasting. As the family's health deteriorated, Reese's condition took a terrifying turn, requiring hospitalization for a rare, life-threatening pulmonary hemorrhage, a condition so uncommon it affects only about 1 in a million children. The Ballard family's trauma was intensified by the medical community's inability to unravel the cause of their ailments. The absence of a clear explanation left the family feeling abandoned by the very systems meant to protect them. Their trust eroded by dismissive appointments and inconclusive tests. The mansion, once a sanctuary, now felt like a prison, its opulent rooms tainted by an oppressive atmosphere that seemed to drain the family's vitality. Strange odors lingered in the air, and the persistent sound of dripping water resounded from an unknown location. In just 2 years, the Ballards' dream of a perfect life in their new mansion had been completely shattered. The emotional weight of caring for their critically ill child, coupled with Ron's declining cognitive function and Melinda's worsening physical health, pushed the family to the brink. On April 1st, 1999, Melinda Ballard boarded a Southwest Airlines flight. As she settled into her seat, a violent fit of coughing seized her, forcing her to spit blood into a tissue. Seated beside her was Bill Holder, an air quality expert whose chance presence would unravel the mystery plaguing the Ballard family. Melinda, desperate and afraid from months of battling her own illness and her son Ree's life-threatening condition, poured out her family's ordeal to hold her, recounting the restless respiratory issues, her husband's alarming cognitive decline, and the oppressive, unexplainable dread that seemed to emanate from their 12,000-foot mansion in Dripping Springs, Texas. Holder's expression darkened as he listened to the horroring story, his expertise alerting him to a chilling possibility. He asked pointed questions about their house, any recent water damage, musty odors, or unexplained dripping sounds. Melinda recalled a nagging issue with the downstairs bathroom, a faint odor that lingered in the air. Holder's warning was immediate and unequivocal. Something dangerous could be lurking in their home, and they would have to act fast. Holder recommended that the Ballards contact Dr. David Strauss to test their home, a microbiologist at Texas Tech University and one of the nation's leading experts in environmental contaminants. When Strauss and his team arrived, they very quickly noticed a thick and foreboding atmosphere, even before their equipment was turned on. Now, before I continue, I want you to picture that you're standing next to the Elephant's Foot at Chernobyl, holding a Geiger counter that is turned off. Now, imagine what would happen if you turned that gear counter on. Dr. Strauss had a similar experience once he entered the mansion. The readings he picked up on his Palm Pilot were absolutely horrifying. The Ballard family had been breathing in severely contaminated air from the moment they moved into the mansion. Black mold formed from the neglected water damage and had taken root inside the walls, the floors, and the air vents, creating a greenhouse of toxic vapors. The lab codes Chartum, known for its potency and long-term damage to the human body. It had silently colonized in the mansion, spreading like a malignant cancer for years, embedded into the drywall, woven into the carpets, and clinging to cherished items like family photographs and clothing. The air conditioning unit had become a conduit for contamination, dispersing mycotoxins capable of wreaking havoc on young Reese's lungs. Every corner of the home, from the grand staircase to the kitchen, was compromised. Strauss then delivered a chilling directive. The family must evacuate immediately and leave everything behind. The Ballards fled to a hotel, their hearts heavy with a loss of what was supposed to be their dream home and the dawning realization of the danger they had been living in. The time away from the dreaded house did improve their symptoms, a haunting confirmation that the mansion itself had been the source of their suffering. The discovery of the deadly black mold was not just a revelation of environmental ruin, but a shattering moment that recast their entire ordeal in a new, horrifying light. The home that they had poured their hopes and dreams into had betrayed them, its hidden decay exacting a devastating toll on their bodies. The Ballards' evacuation from their home in April of 1999 marked the end of one nightmare and the beginning of another. A desperate quest for answers and accountability, the family sought deeper investigations into the toxic infestation that had turned their home into a biological hazard. Dr. David Strauss pressed forward with exhaustive sampling. His team peeled back the layers of the mansion, revealing the extent of the contamination. Spores had burrowed deep into the ducts, staining the ceilings and infiltrating even the insulation behind the walls. The mycotoxins, which are essentially airborne assassins, had not only ravaged the structure, but had saturated the air for months, explaining the family's cascade of illnesses. Strauss's reports painted a grim picture. The home was beyond remediation, a total loss, and the family's prolonged exposure demanded immediate medical intervention. As the scientific evidence mounted, a more insidious betrayal emerged, the role of their insurer. What began as a routine water damage claim in late 1998 had spiraled into a textbook case of corporate negligence. The initial leak in the downstairs bathroom was reported promptly to a farmer's insurance subsidiary, was dismissed by adjusters who attributed it to slab settling, an issue that was not covered under the policy. Despite the Ballards' pleas and follow-up inspections that uncovered additional plumbing failures, farmer's insurance delayed action, allegedly conducting superficial checks that missed the escalating moisture buildup. By the time the family fled, the infestation had claimed all 22 rooms inside the mansion, including the hardwood floors and personal effects. Melinda became a fierce advocate fueled by personal anguish. She hired a public adjuster and legal team to scrutinize farmers' handling of the claim. What they uncovered was damning. Internal documents suggested the company had known about the potential risks of mold exposure, but prioritized cost-cutting over fixing the problem, stalling approvals for repairs that might have contained the spread. In May of 1999, just weeks after fleeing their home, the Ballard filed a landmark lawsuit in Travis County District Court accusing farmers of fraud, bad faith, and violations of the Texas Deceptive Trades Practices Act. Fun fact, Travis County served as the setting to the 2003 remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Just thought I'd mention that. Hey, get that nasty goddamn thing out of the backseat of my goddamn car. Put it in the trunk. What the hell's bad with it? The trial unfolded in the spring of 2001. The Ballard's agony was now a national spectacle, thrusting toxic mold into the headlines and igniting a firestorm in the insurance industry. Melinda took the stand in a gas mask and hazmat suit, legendary, by the way, and her testimony was a raw chronicle of suffering. The terror of Reese's hospitalization, her husband Ron's mind unraveling, and her own night spent gasping for breath in a hotel room. Expert witnesses, including Dr. Strauss, detailed the science of Stachybotrys and its deadly mycotoxins. Farmers countered aggressively, portraying Ballard's claims as exaggerated, even alleging in pretrial motions that Melinda had joked about snorting Stacky to hurt the company. The defense argued that the policy excluded mold coverage and that the family had filed 14 separate water damage claims in under 2 years, implying overreach. But the jury was swayed by the visceral evidence of the family's trauma, and farmers documented delays, siding decisively with the family on June 2, 2001. The verdict? $32 million, which included $5 million for mental anguish, $12 million for punitive damages, and nearly $9 million in attorney fees. And to her, a seismic rebuke to an industry already reeling from Texas's mold surge, which had ballooned from 12 in 1999 to 15,000 by 2001, partly fueled by Hurricane Allison's floods. The storm system is not related to Ron Allison, in case you were wondering. It's just a very ironic coincidence. Following the courtroom victory, farmers appealed immediately, and in December of 2002, the 3rd District Court of Appeals gutted the reward, slashing it to only $4 million plus interest in fees, overturning findings of fraud and unfair dealing, while upholding only the deceptive trade practices violation. The appeals court lambasted the trial judge for excluding farmers' evidence on mold growth and bid inflation, reducing the punitive sting but affirming the company's mishandling. Melinda vowed to fight on, taking the case to Texas's Supreme Court in a battle that would drag on until 2003. Yet, even as legal proceedings continued, the Ballards grappled with the lawsuit's toll. Ron's condition worsened. Reese's lungs now bore permanent scars, and Melinda, once a vibrant executive, became the reluctant mold queen. Her activism born out of necessity at the cost of her privacy and peace. The case's ripple effects were profound, spurring legislative scrutiny of insurance practices and policy exclusions for mold while sending premiums skyrocketing across the state of Texas. By 2004, after years of appeals and countersuits, the parties settled quietly out of court, the terms undisclosed, but sufficient to fund the family's ongoing medical needs and advocacy work. The investigation and lawsuit had exposed the deadly underbelly of unchecked environmental hazards and corporate indifference. But at what price? The Ballard story is a stark reminder that the fight for truth could exact its own unrelenting toll. The Ballard family's battle with their toxic mansion left scars far deeper than the loss of their dream home. Some might say they were never able to truly escape. Ron Allison eventually succumbed to the relentless progression of his Alzheimer's disease and spent his final years in a care facility, passing away in 2020. Reed, the bright toddler whose pulmonary hemorrhage first signaled the family's nightmare, carried the physical and emotional toll of his early illness into adulthood. Despite moments of resilience, he died in 2021 at the age of 25. His young life cut short under circumstances that remained privately held, but will forever be tied to the family's ordeal. Melinda Ballard, the fierce matriarch who became a reluctant crusader against toxic mold and corporate negligence, passed away in 2013. Her own health never recovered from the chronic fatigue and respiratory ailments that plagued her, leaving behind a legacy of both advocacy and tragedy. As for the infested mansion, it sat condemned for years until it was demolished in 2004.